Howdy folks, Keywii here, and welcome back to Suzerain, a safe space in which we are summer. We are not really properly running a country, but we're giving it our damnedest, I guess. Kinda wish it were better, but it ain't. And we're gonna die, but that's cool, I guess. Meeting on the results of the assembly vote. Lucien, Peter, and I met in my office and decided to move out onto the balcony to get some fresh air in the increasing summer heat. They both looked uncomfortable in their seats. Peter was trying not to make eye contact and kept letting out depressing sighs. He wiped the sweat off his forehead with a handkerchief. What do we do now? All our plans for nothing. Yes, the OSP leadership is beginning to target us as well. Not to mention Tarquin Sol himself. Yeah, what the hell was that all about? Sol appearing out of nowhere? Gentlemen, nothing is over yet. We still have a country to lead. We came to the assembly to make a statement, and it worked. What's done is done. Let's not linger in the past. What do you think was his real intention? What's done is done. Let's not linger in the past. You're right, sir. We must plan ahead now. We'll be organizing a cabinet meeting to discuss our present and future state of affairs. I will also try to test the waters with our MPs. We can't let the party slip out of our grasp. Good. I want each minister to give me a report. The party has to learn to respect me. Tarquin Sol is not our leader anymore. One list of every party member voted against the proposal. Ooh, that's a slippery slope, ain't it? The party has to learn to respect me. Don't worry, sir. We'll address the party soon enough and put them in their proper place. Lucien looked at his watch. I think it's time to conclude our little meeting, sir. We just got here. There's a tap on my shoulder. Livia Suno had soon joined us on the balcony. Pardon the interruption, gentlemen. Mr. President, David Whiskey is calling about the upcoming foreign policy meeting. Perfect timing. Tell him I'll be right there. You know the details. Handle them yourself. No, tell him I'll be right there. I will, sir. She turned to leave the balcony, then back to us. My condolences for the vote results, Mr. Rayne, Peter. She looked Peter in the eyes as she said this and ignored Lucien altogether. Peter's eyes followed hers as she walked out. Getting pretty hot out here. Okay, let's call it finished. We may both go. You may both go. I need a drink, but man, do I not have time. All right, gentlemen, see you later. They both left. I get the impression that Lucien isn't well regarded in the cabinet. Interesting. Invitation to the movie premiere. Hang on. Before that. Ooh, Runeberg whistleblower arrives. A high-level agent has escaped from Runeberg and seeks refuge in Sordland. Whistleblower from the Runeberg Security Bureau has escaped to Sordland by crossing the border and turned himself to the authorities in Estord. Agent Chelston Hailstone has promised to reveal extremely sensitive information about the development of a weapons program. We can give refuge to him and risk antagonizing Runeberg or send him back. Here's the thing, right? We don't want the ire of Runeberg. Our military ain't good. But also, we can't just send him back, right? You know, he has very important information we can make use of. We could definitely make use of this guy. However, I need to be more popular, right? I need to look better because my vote just didn't go through. Oh God, because I could grant him asylum, right? And then people will be like, people in the government will either respect me for standing against Runeberg, we're a strong country, or send him back being like, oh, you didn't want blah blah blah, you want to incite war, you're a war criminal, blah blah blah. I'm gonna hit grant asylum primarily because I want the respect of my peers. I granted the asylum request of a whistleblower from Runeberg. Geopolitico. Sordland accepts whistleblower. Who is Chelston Hailstone, and what does he know? That's the question of the day, as President Rayne has agreed to grant refuge to this rogue national security agent from Runeberg. After escaping to Sordland, Hailstone promised to reveal sensitive government information in exchange for asylum. Whether Rayne's decision will be worth the anger and possible retaliation from the Runeberg government remains to be seen. Yeah, I'm aware of the consequences when I did that, just for the record. Read the report from Antel, whistleblower in Safehouse. With receiving agent Chelston Hailstone, we have secretly transferred him to a safe house near Antel. The perimeter is guarded by special forces units and to ensure no escape or rescue attempt can be conducted by Runeberg intelligence. The agent is currently being interrogated thoroughly to make sure that the preliminary information provided is accurate. Okay, well, that's good. Read the report from Holsor. USP meeting criticizes president. In yesterday's internal USP meeting, a large group of party members voiced their disappointment in the failed constitutional vote in the Assembly. Lilias Graf criticized President Rayne for pursuing change without in-depth research and proper communication between the party members, blaming the president and the vice president for the failure. Ah, yes, it's our fault that you guys didn't vote. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, invitation to the movie premiere. Cinema Anglais de Erlory. I had been invited to an exclusive premiere of Alfred Kierbook's new film, The Morning Shall Come. Although I wasn't in much of a movie-going mood, it would have been unpresidential not to attend. Are you certain? With its massive budget and Kierbook's directional cachet, this drama was set to be a milestone for Sordland's burgeoning film scene. Personally, though, I was just looking forward to spending some time with my family. It was a very hot and sunny day as Serge drove us to the old capital. The film was to be screened in the historic cinema, the very first cinema in Sordland. Serge had maxed out the air conditioning to keep the Cadilla comfortable. I kept silent through most of our ride. On the H1, I couldn't get my mind off the results of the assembly vote. Frank fidgeted with his tie and he stared out the window. Heard about the university's exams? Ignore him and talk to Dina? No. You worried about the university exams, son? Since when do you care what's happening in my life? You know I'll support you whether you pass or fail those exams. I've been busy lately, but I'll always have time for you. Busy with failure? Frank, don't talk to your father that way. He tried his best. Don't make me angry, Frank. Frank turned his head away and looked out the window. I turned to Dina. Excited about the movie? She nodded happily. What about you, Papa? I know you're sad, but failure helps us grow, right? I'm just fine, Dina. Everything's going to be wonderful from now on, right, Monica? Exactly. Now, where did you learn that? She giggled. From you. Everything's going to be wonderful from now on. Now, no more politics talk. Isn't that right, Monica? Of course. Let's just focus on having a nice time at the movies. Monica folded her arms. We drove on in silence. Serge rolled down the soundproof glass between us. Sir, we're about to enter Erlory. We'll be at the cinema in a few minutes. Thank you, Serge. I took a brief look outside as Serge rolled the soundproof glass up again. I could see many towers of Erlory rising over what was left of the old city walls. Serge knocked on the glass and gestured forwards. We were at the main square of Erlory, and the historic Cinema Anglais, the Cinema of Angels, was right in front of us. Is this the place? Yeah. It was an old Barrette-style corner building with walls that looked like marble from a distance. There was exquisite ornaments on each side of every window. Serge pulled the car to the entrance of the building, which was lit by vivid neon stripes in many colors. Come on, let's get out. Serge opened the doors and we exited onto the red carpet. We were just about to enter the building when a journalist managed to block the path, of course. Mr. President, how are you handling defeat of your constitutional reforms in the Assembly? I'm going to keep fighting for my changes. This isn't over yet. I will respect the Assembly's decision. Not very well, to be honest. I'm not going to be honest. I will respect the Assembly's decision. I'm respectful. Thank you, Mr. President. Were you aware that Tarquin Sol would be present at the proceedings? No, I found out from my driver. I refuse to discuss Colonel Sol at this time. Of course I was. Before she could ask anything else, the guards ushered us inside the theater. There we go. I was in control of this whole situation. Like, you know, they made a decision. I respect it. And of course I knew that. Do you think I don't know things? In contrast to the cinema's Baroque style exterior, the inside was modern and sleek, with bare walls painted in black, red, and white. The film's cast and crew were already in the foyer. That's how you pronounce foyer, Americans, with glasses of champagne in their hands. We approached the crowd and were welcomed by the producers and the event organizers. A man walked up to us with quick steps. Madame, Mr. President, it's so good to see you here. He gently bowed at Monica and shook our hands. It's an honor to meet you. I'm Alfred Serbuck. The honor's mine, Mr. Serbuck. I'm a big fan of your work. Who? Rayne snorted. I glanced at him and he instantly took a sip of his cola. It's very humbling to know that you've been watching and enjoying my movies. If you don't mind my asking, which one was your favorite? This one may be slightly different than my previous works. I love the Sordland. I love The Man Who Saved the World. He stared at me for a while as if he was trying to understand if I was joking or not. That's my Mikhail Vargas, Mr. President. It beat my film, The Swordfish Dream, at the top prize at the Benfew Festival last year. That's bye. Oh. Why don't we take our seat? Well, why did it give me an option if it were wrong? God damn it. It's about to start. Enter the screen. God damn it. Why would it do that to me? That's still when the film began. The period drama set in the 1870s about a Swordfish soldier who pursues a doomed romance with a widowed, blutish farmer during the conquest of Bergia. As the credits rolled, I made my... it started, it ended. I made an early exit to use the men's room. I was washing my hands when I heard an unmistakable voice behind me. So, what do you think? Organ Sol leaned on his cane. He had the same frail appearance I'd noticed at the assembly meeting, yet up close, I could still sense the raw magnetism that had kept him in power for 20 years. Found the plot questionable, but it certainly looked spectacular. What about yourself? Maybe the plight of the Blutish people might finally get the attention it deserves. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this guy. Be careful where you extend your sympathies, President Rayne. The hell were you doing at the assembly vote, Mr. Sol? Enough small talk. Why were you at the assembly? I'm surprised to see you still around, sir. What were you doing at the assembly? My country was about to make a rash decision. I couldn't simply sit by. And are you pleased with the outcome? You succeeded for now, but you won't be able to stop me for long. It's not your country anymore. So I have an immense respect for you, Colonel. I wish it was reciprocated. Well, I don't respect him. You succeeded for now. Are you pleased, though, with the outcome? Quite. There's a glint in his eye. But why did you block my reforms? A true president knows when he must step down. A lesson you'd be wise to learn yourself. I will not let an upstart like you tarnish my party and my constitution. I'm doing this for the good of the country. Your constitution is ancient history. My reforms will bring Sordland into the future. You tarnish it enough for the both of us already. Ooh! Ooh! I could incite him! Let's do it! Ha! Some of his spittle landed on my cheek. As if you, Anton Rayne, are above it all. As if you're capable of remaining president without getting your hands dirty. At last, I can admit it. I never did like you. I'm no saint, but I'm trying to act for the good of the country. You'll find out soon enough how your country repays you for your goodness. He slipped past me and out the door. Sol's security staff and mine were now clustered outside the washroom, forming a buffer against the large crowd that had gathered. "That's Target Sol!" I heard someone scream. His guards closed around him, and mine around me. By the time the chaos subsided, I was back in the car with the family, and Sol was gone. Alright, well, let's see what the news has to say about that happening. Washroom Summit? What are Rayne and Sol hiding? At a screening of Alfred Kubrick's overblown sob story, The Morning Shall Come, President Anton Rayne and former President Tarquin Sol were seen exiting the men's room together. While an illicit assignation is not out of the question, it's far more likely the two inveterate politicians were making backroom deals about which of the Sordish Republic, as usual, we kept in the dark. The radicals committed to getting to the bottom of this meeting, and we'll keep readers updated as the facts emerge. It's the least he could have done. Anton Rayne struck down a proposal from the NFP's Cesaro Kibiner that would have made Sordish the only language allowed in the country's educational institutions, with rare individual exceptions to be granted by the Ministry of Education. Presented as a measure to promote integration and unity, the bill was a slap in the face to Sordish Blutish population and other non-Sordish speakers. Not to mention an outright denial of the diversity that makes this country what it is. Kibiner must not be happy about this, but we are. Lockhaven Times. Peaceful protests. One film, two very special guests. Neat. Waves of protesters are pouring out into the streets in the country asking for their rights as citizens of Sordland. Such demonstrations are the result of piled-up resentments over past budget decisions, bills, and reforms. Fortunately, it seems that the situation is not as bad since they remain mostly peaceful. Good. Stay that way. An exclusive screening of Alfred Kubrick's new film, The Morning Shall Come, made a splash, but not for the content of the period drama itself. Instead, the film was overshadowed by two political figures in attendance. President Anton Rayne, who made the trip from Holsword and with his family, and former President Tarquin Sol, barely seen on the mainland since 1949. It is rumored the two of them spoke in the washroom following the film. Rayne and Sol met at the Kubrick screening. I'm just going to pronounce it that way because fucking Cure book. Kubrick. It's so bad. And it's backwards too. That's the whole point. Anyway, the recent exclusive screening of Alfred Kubrick's new film, The Morning Shall Come, was attended by an unexpected guest, former President Tarquin Sol. Rarely seen outside his home on Duru Island since his 1949 resignation, current President Anton Rayne was also in attendance, and the two men were seen together. New law on the Sordish language vetoed. Unification Language Act has been vetoed by President Rayne after the approval of the Grand National Assembly by majority vote on Thursday following a 3-hour debate. Cesaro Kibiner, who campaigned heavily for the bill, criticized President Rayne for his decision to veto the act, saying it contained much vital new rules that would have unified Sordish education and protected the integrity of Sordish language and identity. Yeah, you could have done that without the whole, hey, all the language must be the same thing. Sorry, we don't do residential schools here. Oh, sword. Dinner at family, briefing a diplomatic strategy. Okay, what about over here? Ceremonial duty for the day of ascension. Alright, well, I got time for one scene. Dinner at home with the family. I arrived home from work, hung my jacket up, and put my briefcase in the hall. Excuse me. I paused, awaiting the usual greeting from my wife and daughter. Dina was out on one of her after-school art classes, I remembered, but where was Monica? From the living room, I heard a muffled sob. No! I entered to find Monica sitting on the sofa, a letter in her hands and a look of despair on her face. Darling, what's wrong? Monica briefly rested her head on my shoulder, then handed me the letter. It's from the Department of Education. Frank's university exam results are in. He must have made us proud. How did you do? Why are you so worried, then? See for yourself. I looked at the page. Below Frank's name and address, his score was written 435 points out of a total of 1,000. At the bottom of the letter, the word failed was stamped in red. All those years of effort, all those private lessons, all down the drain. Maybe it'll be good for him to learn from his mistakes. Does he know the results yet? No, but he should be back from school soon. I just don't understand. Frank's a smart boy. Why would he sabotage himself like this? I heard a key turning in the front door. Frank stomped in and was about to go straight upstairs when he noticed us both in the living room. Mom, Dad, what's going on? Have a seat, Frank. He took a seat across from us, and I handed him the letter. He started reading it. Oh, shit. Frank, language. That's all you have to say? You're a disappointment to this family? Oh, no, I couldn't be that. Oh, God. That's all you have to say? Yeah, I'm gonna press. I need a moment. He went to the kitchen sink and washed his face. A moment later, he came back. I never thought this would happen. I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I should have been around to help you study. How could you let us down like this? You made your mother cry with your actions. It's not the end of the world. How could you let us down like this? I know. I can't do anything right. Frank looked close to tears. Monica put her hand on his shoulder. It's going to be okay, but you really should have studied harder, Frank. I know. So what am I supposed to do now? Well, there's always military school, but you're the president's son. You still have options. You go to military school, of course, is the only place that will have you. I don't like that. Well, there's always military school, but you're the president's son. You still have options. Yes. Monica surprised me with her enthusiasm. If Alfonso could get his dimwit son into Kings Hill University, I'm sure Wholesword State would have room for a bright boy like Frank. I'm not going to take his life lessons from Ewald Alfonso. You have connections to the board. It would be nice to have him closer to home. Wholesword State would be amazing. A bunch of my friends are going there. I could still come home and do my laundry. But you could also study abroad. No, I won't influence your life. You've got to live with what you've done. Ooh, that's the question, ain't it? So that's anus. So here's the situation, right? We got our son who is the smart but lazy type. Pissed away his education for angst, reasons unknown. And now we're basically rewarding him for doing so. No, I won't influence your life. Terrific. Wholesword State it is then. Yeah, I don't want to reward him for like being shitty, you know. But whole family's excited, right? Thanks so much, Dad. I swear I won't let you down this time. Monica let out a long exhale. What a day. Who's hungry for dinner? Monica disappeared into the kitchen, Frank to his room, went to my office and began making some phone calls. Yeah, I get it. Like, I've never done nepotism in real life, primarily because the people I know... Well, technically not true. My mom did get me a job once, though all she did was essentially, like, hand in a resume for me at the place she already worked. So, technically nepotism, but not even close to her department. It was nothing. It was just straight up a connection. Is that how that works? I don't know. Read the report from Rybell. Rural education improved significantly. Oh, that's amazing, actually. Rybell is reporting higher test scores and attendance rates since its education facilities were equipped with new textbooks and state-of-the-art teaching materials. The overhaul was a result of the decision to channel more funding into rural schools. Excellent, excellent. Ceremony day. No, that's probably going to be a full thing. Court strikes down Urson v. Sordland. Chief Justice Hawker of the Supreme Court made an announcement after the majority of the justices voted against the violation of constitutional rights for the blue citizens as proposed by Urson. The landmark case, which was politically charged with the support of WPB and even PFJP establishment, caused a major disagreement between the Ministry of Justice and the Supreme Court. Criticisms were handed over to Minister of Justice Nia Morgna, who filed a concurrence. Chief Justice Hawker highlighted the importance of impartial justice once again. Alright. Fair enough, I guess. Anyway. Anniversary. Watani Ashraf, hero to some, enemy to others. He is, for sure, one of the most controversial figures to have ever lived in our country. As his anniversary is approaching, there is one question that is shared in everyone's minds. What will the administration do? Every year, people gather in Suzerain to hold a vigil in a solemn anniversary of his death. They light their candles in his memory and hold cultural festivals. What is the difference this year, however, are the claims that the Blutish movement will be holding their largest rally yet in Suzerain during the anniversary. Perhaps it is time for the administration to let bygones be bygones and take a step back to display the unity of Sordland to the people who very much need it. Justice failed once again. As expected, the Supreme Court ruled against the Urson v. Sordland case. The massive rights case has struck down any future precedent for an argument to be made against the constitutional rights violation of individuals through legislative action. Chief Justice Hawker argued that legislative actions and constitutional acts are not to be confused and that the British people are equal under the law. The soulless constitutionalist justices are going to as far as they can to bend the truth to hide the inequalities in our system. The fight for justice will continue. Anyway, read the report from Holsword. Alright, so the Supreme Court has filed a 6-5 dissent and closed the Urson v. Sordland case today. Chief Justice Hawker dismissed the concurrence of the Ministry of Justice, citing that the treatment of British people has been equal before the law. Further press releases were made criticizing the words of Vice Minister of Justice. British constitutional rights won't be in question for some time. That's a real shame, that. Alright, so we got our briefing on the diplomatic situation. You know what? It'll probably take more than 3 minutes, but whatever. The right doors to the White Room, like everything else in the Maroon Palace's main nerve center, were painted white. You know, the White Room. I took a deep breath before pushing them open. Time for yet another meeting. At least this time it has people who like me. These three. I didn't know he liked me, but whatever. The attendees rose up from their seats. Mr. President. Losef nodded. He and Lucian sat down, and David remained standing. Now that you are here, let's talk about our diplomatic strategy. David cleared his throat. Mr. President, if I may, I would like to provide you with a short overview of where we are right now. Go ahead. We decided not to pursue any deals with Welland and Agnolia, which means our presence in both regions is lacking. We must now look towards the future. What do you mean by looking towards the future? It's time to take the next steps. Precisely. David sat down, pulled out a few papers, and started going through them as he kept talking. Welland and Agnolia were practice runs. We must begin improving our relationship with greater nations. We need to elevate our international standing, especially with the threat of Rumburg looming. Losef cleared his throat. Mr. President, you know me, I don't trust the helping hands of other countries offered us, for a good reason. But I also know that those helping hands are necessary, and right now we need all the help we can get. I've said this over and over, but I will repeat it until you get it through your skull. Rumburg will come sooner or later. I know that. And with the current state of our military, if a Rumburg invasion happens, Sordland will cease to exist. We need allies. We ought to heed General Lancia's advice, Mr. President. I trust your assessment, Losef. Thank you for the input. I will consider it. Nonsense or... No. I trust your assessment, Losef. Thank you, Mr. President. A military perspective is important, but these deals are about more than just gaining allies. We also need to consider the benefits of our economy such deals will provide. Especially when we are still struggling to end the recession. Yeah, absolutely. David took a seat and brought out 2 stacks of documents. At the start of our term, I had a comprehensive trade deal plan laid out. Following the visits to Welland and Agnolia, we were to pursue potential trade deals with 2 greater nations. Vogsland is one of them. If we can manage to get them on the table, there is much more potential here than in Welland or Agnolia. Because they are one of the most important countries in CSP, containing Security Pact, okay? A deal with Sordland is a ticket to bring Sordland closer to the United Continental sphere. Dealing with countries in CSP is dangerous. We should do whatever we can to get them on our side. We don't need help from other countries. It's dangerous. A simple trade deal wouldn't cause issues unless we decide to go further. Moving on to Lesbia. Our southern neighbor is one of the wealthiest countries in Eastern Mercopa. Trade deal with them would be very beneficial, not just for our economy, but also for our regional and international presence. Not to mention that they are in the Arcasian sphere. Trade deal with Lesbia could open more doors for us. Do not wish to get closer to any country in ATO. Trade deal with Lesbia could open many doors for us. Yeah, the rich need to help us a little. True, a country as influential as Lesbia could help elevate our economy. That is it for the overview. As to the actual contents of the trade deal, Lucian pulled out a small notebook and quickly flipped through the pages until he landed on the right one. Looking at my stats here, we now have a small tungsten surplus, which means an excellent resource for trade. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I need to know your decision before we can proceed. What should we do? Before you say anything, remember what I said. We need allies, not just a trade deal. If Rumburg attacks, we will fall. Begin negotiations with both Sordland and Lesbia. We need both of them, honestly. Excellent news. I will begin at once. That is all I had for today. Thank you for coming. Thank you, gentlemen. Losef saluted and as we left the White Room. Okay, there you go. I decided Frank was attending Holsword University. Negotiation with both Lesbia and Sordland. Sordland will probably want some Helgeport, whatever stuff. Sordland is very powerful and we don't want to piss them off. Rumburg is very powerful and we don't want to piss them off. Lesbia is very rich and we want to make a trade deal with them. I tried to help Magnolia, but they're like, no, we want the island. Blah, 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 blah. I'll get to that next time. Let's just read a report or two and make our way out. Read a report from Holsword. Currency loses value against Arcasian lira. Financial report shows the Swordish Ren has steadily been slipping against the Arcasian lira, though the exchange rate has not yet approached the all-time low reached during Alfonso administration. Alright, well, that'll have to be it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, I'm Keywii. You've been great too, and you have yourself a delightful day. I love you all. Goodbye.